Welcome to my YouTube channel, One Race, the Human Race, All Human. The reverse Southern strategy was very successful in the state of Georgia, who elected a Jewish brother, 33 years old, to the United States Senate from Georgia, first Jewish brother ever, and an African-American brother from Georgia, first African-American United States Senator from the state of Georgia. And who did it? It was your white voters, your African-American voters, your Latino voters, and your Asian voters. It was a fusion coalition. A type of fusion coalition you had way back in what, the 19th century? Dr. King talks about that in his speech on March 25th, 1965, his Selma to Montgomery speech, where he says back in the 19th century you had blacks and whites voting together in a fusion coalition. And in order to stop that, they invented something called what? Jim Crow, segregation. Check your history, check that out. Also, take a look at the book Dog Whistle Politics, How Coded Racial Appeal Has Reinvented Racism and Wrecked the Middle Class, by Professor E. Hanny Lopez. And in that book, it talks about the Southern strategy. And Southern strategy, in a nutshell, is getting white people to vote against their own self-interest. Okay? That's what it's all about, in a nutshell. When they should be voting the same way as African Americans, Latinos, and Asians, based upon what? Issues, and not color. Color is so irrelevant. There's one race, the human race. So let's say you're Latino and you need that $2,000 stimulus check, the survival check, and you're a white American, you need the same check. Okay? There's any difference between the two? No. And so what's happening is white America is waking up and seeing that people are in similar situations. They came on different boats, but they came on different ships, but they're in the same boat now. And that's the reverse Southern strategy. And it's working. People coming together, spirit of love, unity, togetherness, and recognizing that there's one race, the human race. And everyone needs what's in Matthew chapter 25, right? When I was hungry, did you feed me? Thirsty, give me something to drink, right? Everyone needs food in the stomach, clothes on the back, shoes on their feet, shelter over the head, right? And free health care, and guaranteed federal jobs, loan forgiveness, student loan forgiveness, right? And free state colleges, like other parts of the world. They do that. So let's see what's happening on this Sunday, January 10th, 2021.
Welcome back, everybody. Since Wednesday's attack on the Capitol, reaction among Trump supporters has been mixed, with some remaining dedicated and others changing their minds. Joining me now is NBC's Amanda Golden, who's in Jacksonville, Florida, for us. Amanda, good to talk to you this afternoon. Thanks for joining us on this. What are you hearing from them, from the Trump supporters?
Well, Yasmin, we've been here in Florida for the last several days, both in neighboring Nassau County, which went for President Trump in November, and here in Duval County, which just narrowly went for President-elect Joe Biden, just by a couple percentage points. It's a traditionally very conservative area. So we spoke with a number of different Trump supporters about what they witnessed this week. What I heard, well, while we haven't heard much from Republican leaders, only a handful have outright condemned President Trump for instigating the violence that we saw. What Trump supporters here are telling me is that they not only condemn the violence, but they do draw that extra connection to what President Trump did to instigate and promote the violence that we saw take place in those deadly riots at the U.S. Capitol. So as we spoke with Trump supporters, the questions that I had were, where does the Republican Party go from here? Does this make you question your vote, even for those that just voted for President Trump in November? A number of them told me that while they did condemn the violence and even did blame Trump, they would still support him moving forward. If they had another opportunity to vote for the president, they would. Others told me that this was sort of the breaking point, that they lost a lot of respect for President Trump, that they thought his handling of the aftermath of what they saw in not taking action was a line too far for them. But moving forward, as we know that with Trump now no longer able to communicate on Twitter, that's been the major platform for him to both communicate with his supporters and the rest of the country. So I asked so many Trump voters here, what would this mean? Do you think he would still be able to be a vocal presence? And a resounding yes from all of them, saying that they still feel he will be incredibly tapped into the Republican base, even if the party starts to move away from him. He will find a way to communicate, even if it's not on Twitter. So in speaking to these Trump supporters, they continued to show me how they felt that even if their minds were changed in that moment, they would support him again. And we're starting to see those fractures, though, from some of the supporters who felt that it was a line too far. But we still see that they're going to continue to come out in support of President Trump if they have the opportunities to do so. Yasmin?
Amanda Golden for us. Thank you, Amanda. Good to see you. Want to bring in now Tim O'Brien, senior columnist at Bloomberg Opinion. Tim, it is good to talk to you, my friend.
Always good to talk to you.
We got a lot to cover.
Yes, we do.
Was looking forward to hearing your thoughts on all this. And in that, I want to read a little bit from your Bloomberg Opinion piece about what took place. And the little bit I want to read is what you wrote, in that you said the president basically got what he wanted in all of this out of Wednesday's attack on the Capitol. Do you think the president expected that to happen?
I don't know that he specifically expected what unfolded to unfold, but I certainly thought, I certainly think he knew there would be the possibility of violence on the streets there. He has been spending more than a month talking about that specific event and inviting protesters to come and attend it. He has spent his entire presidency inciting violence. This isn't a one-off. You know, we've had pipe bombs mailed to prominent Democrats and media organizations. We've had people at his rallies who've been assaulted. And Trump from the stage has said he wished he could punch them himself. He talks in graphic terms about wanting to shoot migrants at the southern border. Violence and thuggery have been part and parcel of his language and his presidency from the beginning. I expected election day might have been more violent than it turned out to be. And I think we had a lot of public servants from both parties who made sure people could vote safely that day. But he was certainly inciting it then. And of course, there's no way that he could have thought the kind of language he was using in front of the White House on January 6th was going to keep people calm. And look at his reaction. We know from the reporting in the White House, as he watched this unfold on television in the White House, after promising those protesters he'd lead them in a march down Pennsylvania Avenue, he appeared to revel in what he was seeing on the screen and could not understand why the people around him in the office in the White House were horrified by it.
Do you think he would have even condemned the attacks had he not been advised to do so?
No, because he had two options prior to when he finally did. He tweeted out two tweets in which he didn't disavow fully what they were doing. And he is a man who foments chaos and confrontation in his name, because it is a very visceral way for him to affirm that people are listening to him and taking action on his behalf. He is deeply damaged, divisive. He has been promulgating bigotry and racism for 4 years. No one should be surprised that this blew up. I don't think anyone could have predicted the exact fashion it blew up in, but everything was there for something like this to take place.
Is Donald Trump, knowing what you know about him, is he even able to have any remorse? Is he even able to have any embarrassment, especially as we look ahead beyond January 20th? What happens to him?
He's never had, remorse or embarrassment about anything. He was born into a wealthy family that insulated him from the consequences of his mistakes. He became a celebrity that insulated him from the consequences of his mistakes. And now he has the power of the presidency and the legal protections the presidency affords. That's also made him inured to the consequences of his own mistakes. On top of it, he is a uniquely damaged man psychologically and emotionally, and he doesn't feel remorse, empathy, or regret like most people do. So he doesn't have those checks on his actions. I think going forward, you're going to see someone now who's increasingly getting penned in, which I think it's fortunate that it's finally happening, though it's far too late. But his avenues of attack are being cut off, whether it's social media, the levers of the federal government, or the GOP itself. The question going forward over the next week is does he try to do something with the military or the Justice Department? I have to believe after this event that public servants in both of those agencies would stop him. So I think going forward, after he leaves the White House, he'll try to be a kingmaker in Republican politics, but Mitch McConnell is not going to have much interest in that. And I don't think he can do that from Miami. But he will still be able to make and break populist far-right candidates who spout Trumpism. And then, of course, I think he's going to try to buy or start a media company, and he'll certainly have a voice there.
Seems like Josh Hawley's the only one that wants to be made into a king from this episode or from Donald Trump at this point. But as you said, too little, too late for so many Republicans that should have jumped ship a heck of a lot earlier. Tim O'Brien, thanks so much, my friend. Good to see you. Coming up, by the way, in our next hour, the future of the Republican Party. It's going to be a really good conversation. Can the GOP reunite and reinvent as the party is splintering over Wednesday's riot? Bill Kristol, founder of Defending Democracy Together, is going to join me to discuss where Republicans go from here. We'll be right back.